All right, guys, we are live, but we got to let it breathe for just a couple of moments here to bring on Facebook. And we will get things rocking and a rolling this Sunday night. Legal Tampering Eve. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. And Zack, today we had a couple other bigger dominoes fall for the Broncos. We got legal tampering window opens tomorrow, right? That 2-day run up before the new league year where teams can start negotiating with outside free agents. And today, the Broncos took care of two more in-house free agents, starting with Justin Strnad, the linebacker. So he's back. Alex Singleton's still in the wind. We'll talk about that. And then just before we're about to come on and go live here, Zack, Adam Trautman brought back on a 3-year deal that could be worth up to $18.5 million. $9.5 million guaranteed. Your gut reaction, brother?
Full transparency, I agree with everything that you said pre-show today, that you like the Strnad deal with how it was structured, but you're not that crazy about the Trautman deal. I'm fully in that camp as well. I like the fact they brought back a younger linebacker. They prioritized Strnad over Singleton. We'll see, like you said, what happens with Singleton, but Trautman, it's not the player that I hate necessarily so much. He is a veteran. He's a good locker room guy. He's an excellent blocker, but it's the contract. It's a lot of money for a blocking tight end. It's a long-term commitment to a blocking tight end. And as Scott said, I'll give him credit because it's true. Let's see how the contract is structured. They could be an out after next year. It could be a 1-year deal, but on its face right now, 3 years, $18 million, 9 guaranteed for Adam Trautman. Broncos country is pushing back, Chad, because no other moves were made. And it's okay because it won't stop them from making other moves. But if it does, then they're going to have even more of a pushback. This can't be the only move they make at tight end, is my point. Adam Trautman.
No, absolutely not. And it's okay. Hey, go pay a blocking tight end that kind of money as long as he can block. Can he block? Okay, pay him that money. Guys, Adam Trautman, look, it's easy to say, right? Because we're not the ones out there on the grass. We're not the ones, learning the technique, building our bodies, sacrificing, striving to even make it to the NFL. So talk comes cheap for observers like us, right? However, guys, he's not a good blocker. He got re-signed because he knows the scheme. He's a glue guy. He's a Peyton guy. He helped kind of transmute the culture Sean Payton was trying to reinstill from New Orleans in Denver, and he's being rewarded for that. That's my honest take on it. And I do hope, Zack, I have my doubts now, unfortunately, but I do hope that it does not preclude the Broncos from going out and targeting some of the more interesting tight end candidates out there on the market. The guy that I still have my heart set on is Cade Otton, who I don't think you'd have to spend a lot of money to get him. But man, I look at that deal for Trautman just to bring him back, and now I'm going, golly, maybe Cade Otton's going to cost even more than I thought.
And if he doesn't, that just shows that the Broncos overpaid for Adam Trautman because, as you said, he knows Sean Payton. He knows the system. And like I joked before the pod, it'll be 2050 and Adam Trautman will still be out there catching passes from whoever's quarterbacking the Broncos. We can't escape this guy. Kliss, though, did mention Cade Otton as one possibility. He also mentioned Isaiah Likely from Baltimore as another possibility. I do expect, Chad, them to keep monitoring the markets and seeing if they can get another tight end. They can't, though, rest just on Adam Trautman. If you can bring in a Cade Otton or Likely, you have to do it because the depth chart right now is far, far from finished.
The thing for me is it's like you look at the Evan Ingram contract, and he's on the books as far as his salary cap hit this year, Zack, $14.1 million. So you just extended Trautman. I'm sure they kicked a majority of that down the street, kicked that can down the road. Yeah, even Scott's saying, $6 million per year makes him the 23rd highest paid tight end. Yeah, I think it's an overpay too. But what I was going to say is on Ingram, Zack, I'm not sure they can really afford to go out there now and really spend at tight end unless they either fiddle with Ingram's contract or release him, which I, at this stage, don't expect to happen. I mean, it's still not the opening of the new league year, so anything is still possible, Zack, but if it hasn't happened yet, it's a little bit harder this close to see that happening.
Yeah, I'm just looking down. I was trying to pull up over the cap to see what the dead money and savings would be if they cut them pre or post June 1st. I actually have it now really quickly. Post June 1st, there basically isn't a savings if they move on from Trautman on Evan and Ingram, excuse me, more dead money than cap savings, regardless of pre or post June 1st. So they're pretty much stuck with Evan Ingram unless they want to eat some of that dead money. But like you were saying, how do you squeeze in another veteran here? You brought back a veteran. You have Ingram on the books. Do you want to add a third? That's where the problem will be if they don't make another move. If they rest on Adam Trautman, I see Broncos country getting very uncomfortable, and as well they should.
Let's see what the chat has to say. It's fun that this stuff's happening. We're getting started here, but not the greatest. Look, on one hand, though, again, Justin Strnad, great deal. They got him back. You know, you can breathe a little bit easier now at linebacker. You're not as reliant on Dre Greenlaw's health outlook, so that's good. Papa Bear, good to see you, big dog. Thank you so much for being the awesome member that you are and dear friend and supporter and superstar. He says, good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag God bless the USA. Buckham ×3. Amen to both of those, my brother. Still love that you're rocking the Buckham t-shirt in your profile pic like a legend. We also got Duke Rose checking in. What's going on, Duke? How you been, big dog? We've missed you. He says, I might be in the minority, but I'd rather we have a different linebacker than Singleton. Time to go a different route. I totally understand that. That's kind of what I was thinking about tight end. Like, no more half measures. Like, let's go out and get a guy. Not to say that Ingram was a half measure. I don't think he was. I mean, his age notwithstanding, I think the Broncos swung for the fences, and that's still something with Ingram that's still taking shape. Like, he could still end up being a huge asset for this team, depending on how things unfold this season. But linebackers, Zach, there are some really intriguing options, a couple of which got spat onto the market over the last couple of days. Bobby Okereke, Tremaine Edmonds. You also have, obviously, at the top of the market, Devin Lloyd. And then a poor man's Devin Lloyd, also by the same name, Devin Bush. So those are some of the names also out there, Zach, that are interesting at linebacker. If Duke doesn't want Singleton back, who was it that reported today? The Broncos are efforting. What kind of word is that, dude? You're not a coach, dude. Come on. Efforting to get Singleton re-signed.
Yeah, Duke, excuse me. I don't think you're in the minority here at all. I think you're in the majority. If you ask 100 Broncos fans if they want to bring back Singleton, I think about 70 at least would say no, let's go in a different direction and see what they can do. So I like the fact that they're trying to upgrade there, and I hope they don't effort too much to bring Singleton back. Another name to keep in mind, though, Chad, as you nailed them, Nakobe Dean from Philadelphia. He was asked at the Super Bowl if he'd be interested in coming to the Broncos. He said he would have interest if he doesn't re-sign with Philly. So keep an eye on him. He would come cheaper than Devin Lloyd.
Good point. Good point. He's also very, very interesting. Thank you for checking in, Duke. Hope you've been well, buddy.
You,
we have the Lady D jumping in from the top rope with a very generous super chat, a dear member, a dear friend, bona fide Mount Rushmore in the house. She says, evening, Chad and Zach. I'm bummed at the lack of top-tier players the Broncos haven't even seemed to make a play for. That'll start tomorrow. Okay, that'll start tomorrow. Running back with the same players without improving is a mistake. We need highly capable players at receiver 1, running back 1, tight end 1. Trautman isn't it. And look, this is going to be the general reaction I think most Broncos fans have, especially educated, I'll say, people who are plugged in and they're following things, and they don't just watch the season and then say, hey, wake me up when September arrives. You know, they're staying plugged in the whole time like Lady D. This is going to be, Zach, a very natural and frankly understandable reaction to the Trautman deal. It'd be one thing to bring him back. You bring him back on a 3-year deal. And like you said, we'll see what the devil's in the details always. But man, it really is disappointing. Like, guys, we can go through like the Pro Football Focus stuff, some of the advanced metrics. The Broncos tight end room over the past 2 years has been one of the worst in the NFL. It was easily this team's glaring weakness, or the glaring weakness, Zach, on offense of the Bo Nix era. You would hope that it was viewed that way and recognized internally, but moves like this make it seem like, well, the external view is widely different than how it's being viewed by Sean Payton.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's not necessarily the player, it's the contract. I mean, Adam Trautman is a fine player to have on your 53. As Scott said earlier, you have to build a 53. They all can't be Pro Bowlers, but it's the contract. It's a 3-year commitment to this player who, let's be honest, he's a jag. If you want a blocking tight end, you can find one on the street, you can find one in the draft. They're not that hard to find. And it sends the message, Chad, that they send at the trade deadline. What they say, that Broncos fans still repeat. We're good with who we have. They didn't make any moves. They were good with the status quo. And doing this so far is sending the same signal when we all thought after the AFC title game, it would be a much different approach. But Deanna, like Chad said, it hasn't even started yet. The tampering window opens tomorrow. That's when you'll see players sign with outside teams. We have to hope the Broncos are aggressive and not resting because they can't run it back. They are still weak in many different areas they have to address. But thank you so much for the super, as always.
Does it open at 2 o'clock? What time does legal tampering open? Hold on.
Yep. 2 Mountain, I think. Or is it noon?
Yeah, 2 Mountain, 4 Eastern, right? Oh, no, wait. Legal tampering begins noon Eastern, so 10 a.m. 10 a.m. tomorrow. So wake up with, with early bird gets the worm, be ready to rock and roll because things are going to start popping at 10 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow, guys. So, yeah, Lady D, as Zach said, tomorrow's when things really get moving. So we'll see. We'll see just how complacent the Broncos really are. Not complacent as if like, we're not trying to do anything, but just like how stoked are they on the current guys? We still have, Zach, no clarity on J.K. Dobbins. Singleton's up in the air. I'm actually I'm in a different camp on Singleton. I don't hate Singleton coming back. I like him. A lot of it has to do, Zach, with the fact that he's a team captain. He's got the great story now. That perseverance serves as an inspiration internally. You bring him back 2-year deal, and it's basically for 1 year guaranteed, right? And if you really paid attention last year during the season, yes, he started out slow. You got to expect that, not just because of his age, but he's coming off a season almost entirely lost to an ACL. Down the stretch, man, when he finally got his wind, oh boy, he started showing out not only as the tackle machine that he is, but he improved. I'm not trying to glaze him or crown him, Zach, but he did improve it in coverage. So I wouldn't hate it just because he has, he's a big part of the culture that's been built there. So I do predict Singleton comes back, guys. Get ready for that. That's still a prediction. In other words, I'm more inclined to predict Singleton comes back, Zach, than they go out and swing for, even Nakobe Dean or Devin Bush, or certainly probably not Devin Lloyd. Eric Holt in the house. What's up, bro?
Thank you, Eric.
Good to see you, pal. Thank you for the super chat. You got a couple in the hopper, it looks like. Thank you, pal. He says it's free agency time to build into a Super Bowl championship. With Strnad re-signed, I really want Travis Etienne. I've been begging for a Clinton Portis clone, and this guy is just that. Thoughts? Well, I'm not sure that he's a Portis clone. Portis, man, to me is like, there's in terms of the 21st century, there's Terrell Davis, who capped off the 20th century for the Broncos. 21st century Bronco running backs, to me, doesn't get better than Clinton Portis. And I get it. We only had him for 2 years. God knows what it would have been if he would have stayed in the Shanahan scheme for all of his career. But I digress. Zach, you had the story on this. The Broncos are reportedly kind of in on Etienne. We'll see.
Yeah, according to Jeremy Fowler, who's been on top of this stuff, excellent ESPN reporter, he said the Broncos are showing Travis Etienne love on the open market so far, but there's one of two teams in the AFC West showing him love. The Kansas City Chiefs are also interested in Travis Etienne, and Fowler said that if these teams, the Broncos and Kansas City, can't get Etienne, then maybe they'll go after Kenneth Walker, but for right now, it doesn't seem like the Broncos are major players for Walker's services. And I got to be honest, Chad, at $15-16 million a year, that's when I'm out as well. That's a lot of money to pay for a running back. You can get Etienne about 8, 9, 7 in that range. Excellent receiver, excellent runner. I think he would fit the offense really well. I think this is going to happen, Eric, fairly quickly next couple days.
I think it's cool that the running back market is coming back. These guys are, as far as how they're paid, these guys are the unsung heroes, dude. Their career spans are short and sweet. I'm stoked that they're starting to be able to make a little bit more money. The top tier guys, anyway. Eric's with his second super chat says,
Thank you.
I know Sean Payton says he's happy with the receiver room, but I'm reading there's a lot of smoke with Romeo Doubs. Do you think he is what we need to become an explosive offense? We need to trade up for the tight end from Oregon, Kenyon Sadiq. This is his parting message here. But, Zach, I have my doubts that Doubs does anything more than give you another Troy Franklin, basically a slightly slower Troy Franklin,
Yeah.
smoother athlete, more polished perhaps and slightly more reliable as a receiver. But if you're looking for that guy that's going to all of a sudden take you from 0 to 60, it isn't Romeo Doubs. I'm sorry. The only guy that was potentially going to be free this season that could have given you that got franchise tagged by the Dallas Cowboys, George Pickens. Your thoughts?
No, you're absolutely right. I think Dobbs is kind of a hybrid of Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin. He's not going to move the needle for you. He's already what you have. And I saw projections where he could get like 15 or $14 million a year. No, thank you. If they're going to take a swing like that, just even trade, give up a draft pick and acquire Jalen Waddle, acquire Garrett Wilson. These are true number ones that can take you from 0 to 60, as Chad just put it there. Dobbs isn't the guy. Although, Eric, I have heard the same smoke as well. It doesn't seem like the Broncos are going to make those big blockbuster moves. It seems like they're going to take the plan B approach or the safer route, cheaper route, and Dobbs might be that guy. I wouldn't be that crazy about it. Got to be honest with you.
I expected, we talked about this last week, Zach, but like an amalgamation of 2023 and like the 2024 free agency.
Yep.
If you think back to 2024, they swung, but it was like, it wasn't for the fences. They're trying to get maybe to second base type thing.
Right.
So let's keep our expectations in check. And then if they exceed them, guys, we'll have a lot to be excited about. Real quick before we grab Shannon, just shouting out Benji Clay, who says, feels like 2 floor signings. I don't like it. Boring. Benji, thank you for the super chat, big dog. And I want to come back to something Scott was saying. Like, Scott is always like, Zach and I, we get really kind of reactive to things like this. And we either blood starts boiling or maybe we get out over our skis with excitement. Depends on what the news is. But as the more objective guy who's, he couldn't care less about certain things relative to the Denver Broncos, he helps put things in perspective for us at times. And Zach, one of those is that, look, you can't, again, you mentioned it, you're not going to have all pros and superstars at every position on the 53. This isn't Madden. So on one hand, look, I get it. I love what they did with Strnad. I like they brought back Palczewski. They're tendering, or at least planning to tender, 3 of their exclusive rights free agents in Devin Key, Tyler Bidet, and Dondre Tillman. They're bringing back Jaquan McMillan. Good stuff. I'm starting to worry a little bit by the Trautman thing. I mean, I guess it's he says, you're establishing the floor. All right. Doesn't mean that the ceiling can't be up there a ways, right? You're just getting that floor established.
But they're also bringing back Ben Powers. That was another one that caught me by surprise. No restructure, no trade, no release, nothing. He's your starting guard. He's carrying an $18 million cap number, and we're going to give Palcho a 2-year extension on top of that. So it's a mix right now. I think so far we can't really see any ceiling moves because they can't sign outside players yet, but it does seem like they're playing it safe and kind of running it back from what they had in 2025. And the thing with Trautman, I'll say it again, it's not necessarily the player, it's the contract. If you want to bring him back, fine. You don't have to pay him 3 years and $6 million a year for him.
Seems a little steep. Faux show. Shannon Mills jumping in. Talk about the top rope super chat.
Thank you, Shannon.
Mount
Thank
Rushmore
you so much.
in the house. Here she is. We love you. We appreciate you. You know this, Shannon. She says, good evening, Chad, Zach, Scott, and Broncos country. I'm glad that Strnad got signed before Singleton. Now I wonder if Greenlaw might be let loose. Trautman coming back? Weird. I still have faith, though. Free agency just starting. Yeah, it hasn't even started. The Broncos are controlling what controllables they wish to control by getting the guys they want back for sure before things open up tomorrow morning. But tomorrow, 10 a.m., that's when free agency, Zach, really gets rolling. But what do you think of her actual question about Greenlaw? Do you think there's any there?
Yeah, I think they're kind of seeing how the market shakes out. If they can get an upgrade at a fair price, like I don't know about Devin Lloyd or Nakobe Dean, someone like that, they're going to jump at it, and then they would release Greenlaw, I would assume. But it's weird, Chad, because we heard from like a Niners beat writer or a Giants beat writer that Greenlaw could go back to the Niners. It was almost like it was fait accompli. It's like, what do they know that we don't know yet about the situation? So they brought back Strnad. They made it a point, and now they're efforting to bring back Singleton. At last check, you only start 2 inside linebackers. So what are they doing with Greenlaw? Obviously, there's a puzzle yet to be solved here. And I think what Shannon says here is true. He could be on the chopping block, and I don't know if it's the right move. Of the 3 linebackers, Greenlaw, he might be injured, but he offers you the highest ceiling. He offers you things that Strnad and Singleton just can't do.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Scott, I don't know if it'd be easy for you to bring up Dre's contract just to see what his dead money would be if they said adios. But what do we know? We know that as frustrating as his first year in Denver was, he only appeared in 8 games, right? He missed the first 6 because of that quad that he dealt with through the whole offseason. Then he gets suspended 1 for the New York Giants thing, defending Strnad against the ref. Then he's in the fold and he's playing, and he makes his impact is pretty palpable, pretty evident. Especially Zach in that Texans game, the goal line stand, phenomenal. And then down the stretch, boom, he's hurt again. And who knows if the Broncos were fighting those last 2 games for their playoff lives instead of like trying to lock up the 1 seed, maybe he plays. In other words, the Broncos might have just been playing it safe with him, but he did miss more time. He ended up just playing in 8 games, regular season games. And for what they paid him, obviously, Zach, big disappointment. So if they moved on from him, guys, there's only $4 million dead money. So he's fully Broncos have full basically flexibility on Dre Greenlaw. So the question is, and while we're live, it's a little bit hard to come up with all this information, but like at what point in the new league year, like what's the deadline if they were to move on from Dre to minimize the dead money, all that stuff, day 1, day 2, new league year, what is it? But I'm not quite that far. I don't think they're necessarily looking to move on from him because what Sean Payton and George Payton said since the season ended was just what he brings, that attitude, that physicality, that swag that he brings. Yeah, it comes with the downside risk, Zach, of is he going to be there for you on Sunday? But they love that element that he brings to the defense.
You also have to wonder if this removes them from possibility of going linebacker in round 1 or fairly high up in the draft. You're not going to bring back Strnad, bring back Singleton, keep Greenlaw, and then use the 30th overall pick on a linebacker. You're just not going to do it. So they could be showing their hand a little bit as to their intentions. They locking up a linebacker early allows them to sign players elsewhere and fix holes elsewhere. I don't know what they're going to do ultimately, Shannon. I hope my preference is the only thing I can tell you. I would give Greenlaw 1 more year, run it back, see what he can do, start him and Strnad, don't re-sign Singleton, and see if that combination works. I think there's some there with those 2.
What are the inferences, Zach, that Singleton has not been brought back when we know they want to bring him back? Do you think he wants to test the market, or do you think it's the Broncos saying, let's see what maybe Singleton says, yeah, here's what I want. And they're going, you're not worth that. And he says, I think I am. And they're saying, all right, well, let's put it to the test and see what happens Monday morning, what kind of offers roll in for you.
I think Singleton needs the Broncos a lot more than the Broncos need Singleton, and it's reflective in the market. It's reflective in the negotiating process. They made it a point, Chad, obviously, to bring back Strnad. Those negotiations didn't just start yesterday. That was a priority for them, and they capitalized. So with Singleton, it's like, listen, we would like to have you back at some point, but we're going to see if we can upgrade. We're going to see what else is out there, and if we can't find anything else, you will know that you'll be out there more than likely, and we'll call you. That's my read on it.
Shannon, I hope we covered every angle of your question, and it's really good to see you. Tomorrow night's going to be the best show ever, right? Because we'll be doing some gut reactions, and even if the Broncos don't make a ton of moves, whatever's going on around the NFL tomorrow, it's going to be popping off. So it's going to be dope. Boise, man, holy smokes, dude! It's good to see one of our OGs in the chat, let alone dropping a top rope super. Boise, man, brother, great to see you, pal. How have you been? Hope you're doing well, brother. He says, finally catching a live. Appreciate you, fellas. Free agency and draft season, baby. Let's get Bo Nix some weapons. Yeah, buddy. Let's do it. Boise, man, dude. Great to see you, pal. Thank you so much. Really helping us keep the lights on, dude. Serious. Thank you, pal.
Yeah, Boise. Good to see the MHH fantasy commissioner on these parts in the live chat. We'll look forward to setting the draft time later this summer, man. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well.
You're awesome, dude. Thank you, Boise, man. We also real quick got he also became officially a member.
Nice.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you, Boise.
Thank you, pal. In the fold, locked in. D-Dub checking in
Dale.
off
Thank you, Dale.
the top rope. from Paradise, another Mount Rushmore superstar, been in the club, in the family for years, man. OG, seriously. Every single, I know I say this every time he pops on, Dale, but like, every single meet and greet, it always floors me because some people, Zach, look, I get it. When people come to the meet and greet, we're not the only attraction in town, right? They're coming to meet and greet and then they get to go to the game and all that stuff. So when they travel from far away, but still, man, folks like D-Dub, they sacrifice and come from great distances to participate in that event with us. So anyway, it just blows my mind in the best sense. Like, I love it. I marvel at it. He says, though, rumor that Broncos are entertaining Jonah Ellis and a second-round pick for wide receiver stud A.J. Brown. I don't like diva receivers personally, so I'm out on this. But good vets can mediate a bad seed if it's not too over the top. Your thoughts? And then, of course, Q Robinson is in the wing, so Ellis, that might help make him expendable, the idea being. Zach, you break this down for D-Dub because he might not know about some of the offers that the Eagles have rebuffed reportedly for A.J. Brown.
That's true. I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about that as well. I think they turned down, or they want a first, a second, and a player, or they turned that offer down. They want a lot more, Dale, for A.J. Brown than many of us anticipated. I don't think they're going to get it. They're going to have to lower their asking price dramatically for him. We heard ESPN floated a month or so ago. It was like, Riley Moss and a second-round pick for A.J. Brown? That's not going to do it either. And that would be better than this trade, only because Jonah Ellis, I feel, is the next great NFL superstar pass rusher. I really feel like he has greatness, Chad. And I don't know that I want to move on from him that soon. I would rather move on from Cooper or Dondre Tillman than move on from Jonah Ellis and a second rounder. I love the idea of bringing in help for Bo Nix, but is A.J. Brown the help that you want to target? Is he the best receiver you can get on the open market? Or is he just Cortland Sutton 2.0? If I'm going to make a trade and give up those assets, Chad, I know I say these names a lot, but Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Drake London, these other receivers are just a tier above him for what the Broncos need, and I would rather they look in that direction.
And that's the key there, is it's not necessarily that those names you just mentioned, Zach, are more accomplished or even that they're better. It's simply that what they bring to the table is what the Broncos are missing, that kind of element. A.J. Brown is a little bit more reliable / slightly more explosive version of Cortland Sutton, in my opinion. 3-time All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler. His disgruntlement stems from lack of usage, and a big part of that last season for the Eagles, Zach, look, Broncos podcast, but this helps bring context to the subject here. A big part of that last season was the shift in coordinator, right? They lost their Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator to the head coach job in New Orleans. So they brought in, I forget even the guy's name, that offensive coordinator that took them 3/4 of a season to really get rolling. A.J. Brown suffered in terms of his targets, his production, and he was not quiet about his dissatisfaction with that. I think it's one thing, Zach, when it's a diva. It's another thing when it's a diva on a veteran mediated, to use his word, team that's already a competitor, a champion, and he's still out there making noise. Do you really want that noise in Denver, right? Like, do you want to deal with that smoke? I don't know. I'm not sure. I would prefer, as Zach mentioned, going after someone else if you're going to trade. And last thing, 100%. I know it doesn't always make for great podcasting conversation and content when the hosts agree, but if you're going to trade at one of your rush linebackers, trade Jonathan Cooper. Don't trade Jonah Ellis. Had a little trouble staying healthy last year. It's a concern. You got to keep an eye on that. But Cooper seems to have hit some kind of a wall. And if I'm the Broncos, I'm looking for a way to get out now while the getting's good. I'd be including him, not Ellis.
Yep, 100%. I can't help but agree when I find something agreeable, and this is something I agree with. AJ is a good receiver, don't get me wrong, but like you said, he just won a Super Bowl, and now he's making a stink over not getting enough targets and the whole drama going on with Jalen Hurts. I don't know that I want to import any sort of toxicity into the locker room right now. Sean Payton has him where he wants him, and they don't have character concerns with some of these other receivers that we mentioned. So Dale, we appreciate the super. Thank you so much. If they did acquire AJ, I wouldn't necessarily cry myself to sleep, but there's just better receivers that they can acquire that would fit the offense.
Give a shout out to your grandson from us, brother. And we look forward to seeing you in the not too distant future, big dog. Dragon Slayer 69 in the house. The famous Dragon Slayer 69. Thank you for the super, big dog, saying Trautman, my arch nemesis, hate that he's back. Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the you're preaching to the priests here, brother. I don't love it either, but again, it's establishing that floor, as I think it was Benji said earlier, and at the very least, maybe Zach, it allows them. I'm trying to put a positive spin on this. Okay, it allows them to be a little bit more measured in how they approach and attack tight end, not only in free agency but in the draft. Still, like when we talk about a floor, it's not a high floor with Adam Trautman. We're talking that's your basement, you know, what you need. You do need the basement, but guys, he's about as average as it gets as a pass catcher, tight end Zach. And you know, as a blocker, when the Broncos had to rely on him, especially after JK went down and they didn't have a running back that was as adept at creating on his own, guys, right. Bad, just not good blocking. So I don't love it either, Dragon Slayer.
And this is what I'll say. It shouldn't stop the Broncos from going out and signing a Cade Otton if they want, or Isaiah Likely or whoever. $6 million a year, $18 million overall is not a lot for a player. It might be a lot for Trautman, but they can easily make that back up with a restructure or whatever. That's the only positive I have to spin with that. So I'm right there with you, Dragon. Thank you.
We also got David T in the house, brother.
Hope you're
David. Doing better each and every day, my friend, now that you're out of the hospital. Really good to see you. Thank you for being a dear member. Thank you for the super chat support as well, big dog. He says, hi, Chad and Zach. Denver Broncos country. It's looking like Walker is going to price, Kenneth Walker III is going to price himself right out of it. Any deal with Denver, shame. Yeah, and guys, it is a shame, but you don't really want to, you're not going to lose too much sleep, Zach, over dodging Super Bowl, the Super Bowl MVP tax, right? Like, again, it's a different position, all that, but imagine if after Super Bowl 50, Von Miller hit free agency. I mean, he already was making, he's in the not too distant future from Super Bowl 50, a really fat extension that made him, if memory serves, highest paid defensive player in NFL history at the time. But it wasn't right after Super Bowl 50, him hitting free agency. And yet that's what's going on with Walker. Let someone else overpay for him, because there are other really good options out there this time around, Zach. At ETN, as we mentioned earlier, and then still I'm going to stand on this soapbox. I will die on this hill. J.K. Dobbins, man, just bring him back. Talk about establishing floors. Bring him back.
Yeah, Algier, Rico Dowdle. There's a couple other running backs the Broncos could go after, David, if they don't get Kenneth Walker. And I agree that there's a level to the interest the Broncos should have. At 11 or 12 million, absolutely, make him an offer. But if it's going to be $15, $16 million a year, that's starting receiver money in the NFL. I'm not going to pay a running back that at a devalued position. I like Kenneth Walker. I don't like him that much. If I can get Algier or ETN for half of the price, I think that's the more pragmatic move. But thank you for the Superman.
Victory time in the house, brother. Good to have you. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Saying, can't lie, I am disgusted with paying Trautman that amount of money. George Payton better be in his bag tomorrow, getting Bo some help. Yeah, so if you're just joining the stream, it's 3 years worth up to $17.5 million for Adam Trautman. They gave him, what was it, 9.5 guaranteed, Zach?
Something like that. Yeah.
So basically, if he ends up playing through the whole term of his deal, we'll see, blah, blah, roughly $6 million per year. And he's guaranteed probably a year and a half of that, right? Like in terms of extrapolating the guaranteed money. So I would have, if Zach, if the message was Broncos re-sign Trautman, 3-year deal, I still hate the term. I think 2 years most, probably 1 year. Let's just see if we can't build on the situation within a year and see what we can do. But nevertheless, if it was 3 years, $9 million, I wouldn't be hating on it as much. I don't like that. I agree here, victory time. Like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm with you. I don't like this deal. I honestly was hoping they would have moved on from the situation. I won't lie. I was hoping, Zach, it was time to turn over a new leaf at tight end, considering how bad it's been for Denver over the past 2 years during the Bo Nix era. But I don't know. Maybe it's the mindset, Zach, of one in the hand, worth two in the bush. Establish that foundation. I'm trying now to be positive, right? As Scott said, you can't have Pro Bowlers at every spot.
No, it's just it shows how much power Sean Payton really has in the organization. If he says he wants a player back, by golly, man, they'll give him a 3-year deal, $6 million a year, and he's coming back. But to your point, victory time, they better be aggressive, and they just got some more firepower to be aggressive with, as we saw in the chat, and as I see from Chris Thomason, who reported the Broncos will restructure the contract of Quinn Meinerz to create cap room, and they're going to create about $11 million in salary cap savings by restructuring Quinn Meinerz deal. So there you go. There's your firepower. And that's how you go out and get a running back. You go out and get a receiver or whatever, maybe another tight end. They have to be aggressive, like you said, or like other people have said, to help Bo Nix. That's the number one objective. And Adam Trautman and Tyler Bidet, bringing him back on a tender, Chad, aren't enough to help out Bo Nix.
No, you need to get over that hump. And I get it, coach. Like, hey, we were one Bo Nix injury away from at least making the Super Bowl. Yes, but you also kind of got lucky in the sense that there was no Mahomes in this tournament. There was no Burrow in this tournament. There was no Lamar in this tournament. So, like, I'm not trying to minimize the accomplishment, but that was really working toward whoever was in the AFC's benefit, right? That's why it was such a downer for the NFL at large, let's be honest. Everyone was kind of pulling for Josh Allen besides Broncos fans in this playoff. Hey, for the first time ever, he doesn't have to vanquish one of these. Well, those guys are coming back, dude. Those teams are going to be working on coming back bigger, badder, stronger than ever. You need to load up for Bo Nix. You've got the defense. It's time to, and this just signals, status quo, half measure. That I hate, but they got the room, as you just mentioned, Zach. Breaking news: freed up 11 additional million with a restructure on Quinn. And you could do that with a couple other guys too. Honestly, Mike McGlinchey is another key guy you could go to and say, all right, let's free up some money because he's got more than 1 year left on the term. And he's a guy that you expect and plan on being here throughout. So we'll see. They could even create more, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. They can have what was it, $70 million in simple restructure money if they wanted to go that route. They might not be done like you were saying there. And this is enough right here to go out and get a running back. If you want a Travis Etienne, if you want an Algier, this is the money to do it with. So go out and be aggressive. No excuses not to be.
Yeah, real quick, David, we shall see, brother. Thank you for the super chat. Wednesday, we'll see by then if the Broncos are for real on being aggressive. That is absolutely true. Thank you for being a dear member, David. Every single night you're in the chat, brother. Appreciate you. Tucson Phil checking in on Facebook saying, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. Sorry I'm late. You people changing your clocks blows my mind. Yeah, today was the spring forward in the Mountain Time Zone. Anyway, he says, can I assume 3 years is steep for me? And I assume that means they're looking at the draft for a tight end. Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life. Well, Zach, I hurried and wrote up the news report on it for the site right before we went live. And I kind of titled it around how this 3-year extension or contract for Trautman kind of triggers a big question mark for the Broncos. And that is now, like, if you're outside looking in, which all of us are, how does it impact free agency? And does this basically kick the tight end can down the road into the draft, which on one hand, it's fine. If you're that confident that Evan Ingram just scratched the surface on what you have planned for him, I still think you're going to end up not bringing in a better blocker than freaking Adam Trautman. But the problem with going to a tight end in the draft and wait until then is they take time, dude. I mean, even Kate Otten, who's a great example, Zach, of a homegrown guy that developed and, Bucks hit on their guy and did a good job getting him ready and rocking and rolling and all that stuff. It takes time though, Zach. And right now you don't really have that if you're trying to capitalize on these next 2 years of cost control on Bo Nix.
Yeah, I talked about it the other night. The tight ends failed in previous years. Jeff Hireman, Jake Butt, Greg Dulcich. That's a very, in compared to other positions, it's a very low success rate transitioning from college to the pros. There's no guarantee you're going to get a Brock Bowers. You can easily get a Greg Dulcich or a Jake Butt, just a lemon on arrival. So that's why you have to go out and hedge your bets with a veteran here. And I'll say this, Phil. I don't want to be on here Sunday and then look back on Thursday and be like, I overreacted because the Broncos, in hindsight, made moves, but they better. There's no excuse not to. With Russell Wilson's contract off the books, you have plenty of cap room now. You have great tight ends available to you. There's no reason not to, and I think they still will. Just because they brought back Trautman doesn't mean they're not going to add to the position. But my addendum to that, Chad, is they better. When we get on here on Thursday, we better be talking about a new Broncos tight end not named Adam Trautman.
Amen. Thank you, Phil, brother. Good to see you. Late is always better than never. Matthew Grew jumping in on Super Chat. Appreciate you, big dog. He says, didn't George Payton say they'd be calculated? I think they could be calculated / aggressive, but I just don't see Payton giving up a lot of capital for a receiver. Dotson could be a good value signing and then go and draft a wide receiver. What do you think about that, Zach?
This is the same approach they've taken the last couple off seasons. Same thing you said earlier, Chad. No half measures. Bo Nix deserves finally a chance to play with a competent supporting cast, not just duct tape and bubble gum. They did this already. You waited until the second round to draft a running back, third for a receiver, the seventh for a tight end. Why not go out and get a true stud number one when you can? And there's stud number one running backs on the open market. There's stud number one tight ends on the open market. There's stud number one receivers you can trade for. There's no excuse not to. If they don't, it's not because they couldn't. It's because they didn't want to. And that's a major, major difference.
That it is. Well said. Well said. No more half measures, man. You were within spitting distance of the big stage, and it's not going to always be that easy as far as the playoffs are concerned, like just being at home every time. Even Sean Payton has said, Zach, hey, you can control a lot easier the objective of winning the division, even though it's not always perfectly within your control. That's something that you have far more control over. Doing that and then also getting the 1 seed, there's so many other dominoes that are outside your control. And so when those stars align, it's like, hey, baby, let's go. You got to capitalize. Next year, hey, Broncos will make the playoffs. It's going to be a tougher road to hoe if you look at their schedule. I mean, they got the NFC West this year on the schedule. But my point here is you gotta recognize the flaws in the roster, even though, hey, they were this close to the Super Bowl. It is still, Zach, obviously a very good roster. They're going to be competitive, but you got to get Bo Nix the missing pieces. And when we get upset about tight end, this and that, I'm not upset about, you need to find like the best pass catching tight end in the world. You have one of the best that's done it over the past 10 years, and that's Evan Ingram. Yeah, he's getting a little older, but what you need is that inline guy who can do both, who can help establish that ground game as a competent inline blocker, stay into block, attack block, whatever it may be, and still go down the field when you need him to and catch a pass. Adam Trautman can do that at the lowest level of efficiency or competency. Other than Zach attributing it to knowledge of the scheme and the fact that he's quote unquote a Sean Payton guy, I just don't understand. Like, I can get behind even Lil Jordan Humphrey. That I get. He's low value in terms of his cost, but he brings a lot more bang to the buck for the buck to the table because he's a willing blocker. He's a good blocker. And when his number gets called to go out and do something as a receiver, by and large, except for the one drop he had in the divisional round, touchdown on the opening drive, whatever, he answers the bell. But Trautman, I don't understand it, dude. I'm sorry.
Well, I think you touched on something that's the root of the problem here, and that's the Broncos are trying to split the duties of a tight end between two or more players, having one pass catcher and one blocker. Ideally, like you said, Chad, you want the player to be doing both of those things adequately. And I know George Kittles don't grow on trees, but how about looking a little higher up? How about putting a little more effort or aiming a little higher, I should say, than Adam Trautman? I don't know. Like you said, the only reason he has a job and the only reason that Joe Lombardi had a job for so many years before he got fired was because he knows who Sean Payton is. Simple as that.
Byron Lewis checking in on Super Chat, brother. Great to see you. Thank you,
Byron.
It means a lot to us. You know this, Byron. He says, terrible signing, bringing Trautman back. Why not go for Otten or Njoku? Why bring guys back that hurt the team positionally? Exactly, man. Like it's hard to fathom. Now watch the Broncos go out and re-sign Nate Adkins and Lucas Kroll. I wouldn't hate both of whom, by the way, Zach, restricted free agents that the team does not plan on tendering. But would not hate in the least, I should say, Adkins coming back. 1 year deal, 2 year deal, whatever. He had a little bit of injury problems last year. Lucas Kroll, another guy with roots in New Orleans that's kind of been a Sean Payton guy, even though his roots in New Orleans sprouted the year Sean Payton was gone, all right, 2022. But it wouldn't shock me, Zach, if all of a sudden we find out very, very soon they're bringing back Kroll, they're bringing back Adkins. They obviously got Trautman back. It's like, what are we doing here, dude? Do you guys not realize how bad your tight end position was last year? Come on.
How about they're going to use the $11 million they just freed from the Meinerz restructure, and they're going to give it to Alex Singleton on a multi-year deal with a chunk of money guaranteed? That would make me just pull my freaking hair out. But the reason, Byron, they didn't sign these guys yet is because they couldn't do that just yet. The tampering window opens tomorrow. All they could do so far is re-sign their own players or execute a trade. They could not sign other players. We'll see, though. Like I said, they better. They haven't gotten a chance to. I can't kill them for that yet, but tomorrow's their chance, and they better freaking pounce.
Thank you, Byron, big dog. I feel your pain, bro, but there is time yet. There is time yet. In fact, the time hasn't even started. All right. So, and they're loading up. They made a move with Quinn. Lady D jumping back in. Very generous super chat.
You, Deanna. Wow.
Second one of the night because she's a legend. She says, my point is the Broncos were going to get great help for Bo Nix. They are half measuring it. Bo Nix deserves better than what they're doing so far. J-Mac should have gotten the bag before Trautman. I am so far disappointed. Tomorrow they better go huge. Yeah, I mean, I would have rathered, as you guys know, I would have been standing up here stoked if the news we got 20 minutes before the podcast was Broncos re-signed J.K. Dobbins, 2-year deal, $6 million, $2.5 million guaranteed. Everything else is like incentive laden heavy. I'd have been stoked. That would have been a sign towards really not so much building the nest around Bo, Zach, but like maintaining the nest of the key guys that really helped you last year. Trautman wasn't that. Trautman wasn't that. So I get what you're saying, though, Lady D, and thank you, as always, for the support and for clarifying that. Let's all hope that the news of the Quinn Meinerz restructure to free up $11 million is a harbinger that they plan on taking some swings tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't want to kill them because it hasn't even started yet. They could go out and make a bunch of moves tomorrow, and I'd be a very, very happy boy. But yeah, it's not encouraging that they're focusing in-house and kind of running it back for 2026, Deanna. So thank you so much. I agree with what you're saying here, the sentiment. My only advice here is not to be maybe so reactive, and let's just let all of us, myself included, have a little more patience because things can change very quickly. The thing with J-Mac, though, like from a business standpoint, if we can keep him on a 1-year deal, his RFA contract, that's probably better pragmatically for business. But in terms of morale or what he deserves, yeah, he deserves a contract. He deserves an extension. And I hope that's on the priority list at some point this offseason. Thank you so much again, though.
Yeah, J-Mac's not just one of the top 2 or 3 best nickel corners in the NFL. He's proven himself to be one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And the best thing about him, a lot of people like to focus on, he's that guy that you can blitz him off the nickel and he gets sacks and stuff. That's so valuable, which is true. It's great. But his nose for the ball, dude. I mean, the Broncos, I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it was something like 5. The Broncos last season had, as great as that defense was, historically one of their worst seasons ever in taking the ball away. And yet, he had his fingerprints on 5 of them, 2 picks. That doesn't count the playoffs. A couple of, recovered fumble, I think 2 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery plus the picks, the sack production, the pass defense production, the coverage. And then the other thing, Zach, saving your best plays for the biggest moments, like that clutch gene factor, that gotta have it kind of oomph. That's why he does deserve it. But I think he's also a good soldier, and he recognizes that this is kind of the steps that he has to take, and that it's also a big raise for him. I mean, he'll make more this year, Zach, than he did over the entirety of his NFL career so far, 5.8 million on the 1-year RFA tender level that they tagged him with. Knowing that after this year, though, I paid my dues. The time has come.
It's just one of those situations where players don't necessarily get what they deserve in this business, but J-Mac is definitely a player that should get what he deserves, and what he deserves is a multi-year deal where he has financial comfortability and flexibility with his life and his future generations. But that's a whole other story. He has to go out there again, Chad, and I guess prove it once more. And if he just plays his game for another season, he will get that big contract either from the Broncos or another team, because he'll be a UFA next offseason. We're big fans of J-Mac around here. We can't hide it.
Honestly, I think one of the best things that could have happened to J-Mac was the Jahdae Barron pick. I think that shot across the bow, whether it was intentional or not, really helped crystallize things for him and motivate him. And we saw it come out in the wash the way it did. And he's on a trajectory now, and it's going to be fun to see where it goes from here. Love you, Lady D. It's going to be fun to see how tomorrow shakes out. Byron Lewis jumping in again. He's like, what are we doing? When are we going to get a tight end that's worth a darn? Last one I remember was Julius Thomas, a guy named Julius Thomas. Shake my head. Yeah, I mean, trying to think. It's been, Zach has already illustrated well the struggles at tight end. Owen Daniels was good for 1 year, right? Helped win the Super Bowl. Vernon Davis came in at the 11th hour that season, halfway through, and now he gets to call himself Super Bowl champion Vernon Davis. But Vernon Davis obviously was hardly used by the Broncos in terms of compared to the rest of his career, right? Like, he was always the guy. But my point here is, like, yeah, he was definitely Julius Thomas in terms of the way most people perceive tight end, a guy like Shannon Sharpe out there catching passes and scoring touchdowns. Yeah, he was the last guy to really offer the Broncos that. But it's hard to find those kind of guys. And Julius Thomas, hey, he was prolific when Peyton Manning was his quarterback, but he was the epitome of a one-trick pony.
You know who I thought was kind of underrated during his time here was Virgil Green. You know, he never got the Pro Bowls or whatever, or the name recognition, Chad, but he showed up and he did his job every Sunday. He could catch, he could block. He was like a better version of Adam Trautman. And I don't know. I don't want his name to be forgotten in Broncos lore.
Dude, well done. Good job bringing up Virgil. Like, you think about a guy cut from marble, like a Greek god. Like, that dude was Hulk, man. And he was way more of an athlete than the team ever kind of let him be. True. I always wonder what could have been if they'd have just said, all right, he's going to be our guy, period. Like, because he could do it all. He never let you down as a pass catcher, and he was a people mover as a blocker. So, yeah, shout out to Virgil Green. I'm still a little traumatized by Jeff Hireman. And it's kind of interesting. You think about Justin Strnad's path to getting this paycheck, right? Like, 2 years in a row, he had to take 1-year deals, no assurances. You're going to play specials and be a depth guy. And yet you look back at how his career started, Zach, 2020, 5th-round pick, Wake Forest, wrist injury, misses his entire rookie year. That's kind of what happened with Jeff Hireman. And you look at the difference in trajectories. Jeff Hireman is one of those freak dudes that suffers a season-ending injury, not only in rookie minicamp, Zach, but doing a freaking kickoff coverage drill. He tears his ACL in rookie minicamp, done for the season, 2015. He ends up, of course, not panning out whatsoever for the Broncos. They tried to make him pan out, but he just wasn't cut out for it, at least not in that time, in that place. But the other side of that coin, look at Justin Strnad.
Exactly. Yeah. You never know how a player's career is going to go. I remember thinking that there's some there with Hireman. I remember thinking the same about Jake Budd and also Greg Dulcich. It's so tough though. And that's why we all talk about Kenyon Sadiq and how good he can be. And he probably will be a really good NFL pro, but people expecting him to be Tony Gonzalez or Travis Kelce in his prime in year one are going to be sorely mistaken. That position is a tough one to transition to the NFL level.
All right, let me see here. A few member comments here before we start winding her down. Mike Thompson says, Jake will always be the guy before Kittle to me, Zach.
They took Butt before Kittle in the draft.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Brutal.
Let's see what else we got here real quick. I'm just seeing what the 2013 Broncos, Gary. Yeah, that was a good time, man. that cover of Sports Illustrated. Do you remember it, Zach? Epic. Peyton in the middle, DT, Eric Decker, and then little old Wes Welker. By the way, why couldn't you get Julius in on that photo shoot, SI? Come on now. But that was epic times, dude. Gary Hoover, 2931. All right, let me see what else we got here. Yeah, nightmare scenario. One more here from Mike says, to free up money, the Chiefs were $60 million in the hole. They've had to do a lot of work to get plus 20. 29 in the draft is about 14 spots back from where Sadiq is expected. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. The Chiefs, man, they're having to move fast and loose to kind of get back on course. Todd Ostendorf. So Otten, Njoku. I suppose I'd be happy with either, but Njoku could help more, in my opinion. Yeah, but he would probably cost maybe as much as, maybe not quite twice as much as Otten, Zach, but like 50% as much, more than Otten. I like Otten. He's 3 years younger than Njoku. He's just hitting that prime window of his prime years, that crest. And Njoku here pretty soon, guys, is going to start going downhill. He's going to turn 30 very soon. Your thoughts here for Todd?
I mean, you really can't go wrong, in my opinion. They want to go after Cade Otton or David Njoku, Isaiah Likely, Dallas Goedert. There's Jonnu Smith. There's some players on the open market that would help the Broncos. They would all be upgrades, obviously, over Adam Trautman, and most of them would be upgrades for what they want to do over Evan Ingram. So, yeah, you can't go wrong, Todd, in my opinion.
And, guys, all the talk about Sadiq and the Chiefs, unless the Chiefs move some mountains, he's going to be out of reach. Chase Wellner says, way too much ahead in free agency in the draft. No point at this stage being doom and gloom over Trautman. I don't like it either, he says, but it isn't going to make or break this season. Well said. Some tempering of emotions and expectations there. Can't hate it at all. Thank you, Chase. Pearl says, sorry, I'm not saying much. Taking care of the hubby and listening to the very best people. Love you all. We love you too. Give our best to your hubby. Hope everyone's doing all right. Zach, why don't we do this? We're almost out of time. So let's go through a few end of show messages. And while you're doing that, I'll take one last look at the chat and pull up a few things.
Another tremendous installment, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out MHHmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Mile_High_Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join the new MHH Discord server. The link is in the description below. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football pre-save 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important, as always, that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
All right, guys, a few last messages, kind of rapid fire style here. Quentin says, not anyone is happy about Adam. Yeah, I think, the best you're going to get emotionally out of people on Trautman is, yawn. No one's like going, what? We got Trautman back? Psyched, well said. Shannon Mills says, let's all remember that free agency has not actually started yet. The Broncos don't need to act desperate right now. They made it to the AFC Championship and we're a freak injury away from winning that game. Well said. It all kicks off tomorrow, guys. The legal tampering window starts at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, noon Eastern. So start your engines. Phil says, hard to believe it's been 10 years ago today. Peyton Manning retired. Where does the time go? I know, dude. I know. I mean, I still remember it like yesterday. Going from the posture of there is just no way in hell the Bronco killer and the biggest free agent fish in the history of the NFL is coming to Denver. Like, it's just not going to happen. And then all of a sudden the news flashing across the TV. I could not believe it. Like many of you was like, whoa, and what it signaled, right? Such a good time. Ricky Flores, hey, MHH, go Broncos, just got here. What's the news on Strnad? They brought him back. He's back on a 3-year deal. I'm trying to remember the terms of the deal, Zach. What was $6 million a year? Was it?
For Strnad, yeah, it's something similar to Trautman.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, love and appreciate you. Before we get out of here, mile high salute, special shout out to all the great Super Chat superstars, supporters, and dear members. Genuinely, truly helping us keep the lights on during this time of the year that is a lot slower. Like the Lady D off the top rope.
Thank you, Deanna.
Twice.
Thank you.
We also had Shannon Mills. Love you, Shannon. Love you, Lady D. We got D-Dub from Paradise, top rope. We got Boise Man checking in, top rope.
Thank you.
Legend. Papa Bear, before we even went live. Duke Rose back in the house. Eric Holt twice. We got Benji Clay. We got the Dragon Slayer 69. David T checking in on Super Chat. Victory Time. David Yunkin as well, a dear member. Boise Man also becomes a member, like a boss. Tucson Phil, Matthew Grew, Byron Lewis multiple times. Pearl, I missed this. Pearl Heater with a 99-cent super. Pearl, thank you so much. That's amazing. That's amazing. Love you. And I think that covers everybody. So, dear members, you know we love you. Facebook, we love you. We hate Facebook, but we love our Facebook folks. You know this. See you tomorrow. I believe you get some Broncos for breakfast on the Bright to continue kind of previewing legal tampering. And then Zach and I will be back here 6 Mountain, 8 Eastern tomorrow night to react to whatever that first wave is. We'll see.
Yeah, Ricky asked, the Strnad deal is 3 years up to $19.5 million with $10 million guaranteed at signing. So that's the deal with Strnad, but we'll have more news for you, hopefully, God willing, tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.